Good morning, boys and girls. We're going to go ahead and talk about the comprehension skill we're going to work on with our story for the week, Yoon and the Jade Bracelet. And I wanted to start off with a review of what we were practicing last week and something that we're going to work on this week and a peek of the graphic organizer that we want you to work through. Let's go ahead and start off with what we learned last week. We learned last week how to analyze a character in their story and the traits that they feature. Okay, so we worked on character about knowing what he or she may want or need, what are the feelings that they are having, some of the things they do in the story, their actions, and particularly, and this is going to be a very important one, their traits. Their traits are kind of like their personality or their features that they have. And on the next slide, I'll show you over here. Here's just a little quick anchor chart for you guys to know some of the traits that a character may feature and even their synonyms that go with it. If the character was smart, they could have been, clever or sharp. If they were annoying, they could be pesky and irritating or immature even. Maybe they were hardworking, they were responsible, they were dependable. Every character is going to have their own traits in the story. And if you can understand the traits in their story, you can sometimes start to see maybe the change that's going to take place in their character, the change that can take place when it comes to maybe how they were feeling in the beginning of the story and how they feel at the end of the story. And that's kind of like what we're going to work on this week when it comes to sequence. So it's very important that we analyze their traits, and then we can start seeing how their actions may change the way their feelings are or the new traits that they're going to learn and become maybe a better person, or they become a worse person. It depends on the story. So let's go ahead and talk about this word sequence. This week, for the story Yoon and the Jade Bracelet, we're going to talk about knowing our characters' actions and feelings and traits so that we can start organizing a sequence of the story. And this will be your new anchor chart for this week. Again, knowing who our characters are, knowing where the setting is taking place, can help us start with organizing and sequencing our story in the beginning, a middle, and an end. All right? Let's talk about what the word sequence means. Sequence is the order in which the story's events happen. Now, I'm sure maybe in first or second grade, you guys have seen a little anchor chart like this, or maybe you've done one yourself. What came first in the story? What came next, then, and last? So we want to be able to make sure that as readers, we're understanding that there's clearly an order of events that happen within a story. And if we can understand our character and their feelings, actions, and traits, we can mostly identify what's going to happen in the story's beginning, middle, and end. It helps us remember our key events that take place in the story as well when we organize a first, next, then last chart, or a beginning, middle, and end, similar to what we're going to be working on this week. So, my cat's mewing. Let's go ahead. Our story of the week is going to be Yoon and the Jade Bracelet. And hopefully you guys have already listened to it once. If not, go ahead and do so, or organize a time where you'll go ahead and listen to the story. And we're going to be working on filling out our character setting, beginning, middle, and end chart for this story. It's a wonderful story. You're going to be learning about the Yoon and all the feelings that she has, judging from the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and what happens at the end. And I kind of organized that for you on our final slide, which feel free to go through the video presentation. Oh, yeah, this little cat. Feel free to go through the video again to kind of see, and your teacher will probably post this slideshow as well, so you guys can take a look of the story elements in the sequence. Think about, while you read this story, who is or are the main characters in the story, because there could be multiple. Where does the story mostly take place? As always, certain stories, the settings may change from one place to another. So, where does the story mostly take place? What happens in the beginning of the story? And what do we know so far about the main character? What do we know about Yoon? What do we know about her mom? What do we know about maybe some of the other characters in her classroom that you're going to kind of read through? And what happens in the middle of the story? Now, normally, I always like to ask this question: is there a conflict or problem that is developing? That's very important because usually that will happen around the middle of the story, maybe the end of the beginning, but we need to notice what is that problem that's starting to develop. All right. And lastly, what happens at the end of the story? How is the conflict or problem solved? If there even if there was one or was not one, what did you identify as maybe the change or the learning of potentially the problem in the story? Okay, and what was the lesson that we have learned? Typically, a lot of these stories that we read will have good lessons for us to kind of reflect on and take with us um, throughout our lives. So go ahead, take a quick review of some of the questions you should think about as you read Yoon and the Jade Bracelet. And later on, we'll have a recording for you on filling out this sequence chart for the story. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Reach out to your teachers if you need more help. Rewatch this video or take another gander of the Comprehension Skills slideshow. All right. Have a good one.